And welcome to our first edition of East Bay Live, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Hayward, California, and the equally lovely campus of California State University, East Bay. This is the Communication 355 class, 337, excuse me. And this is the podcasting class. And today, I've got the pleasure of introducing four of my students who have completed their first episode of their podcast. We can't wait to hear it. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with that and more here on East Bay Live. All right, and here we go, starting our very first show of fall 2023. Definitely beautiful, crisp weather. It's that kind of lovely day where not too hot, not too cold, and we wish we were out there right now, don't we, guys?
Yeah, I love that kind of weather. I'm from Washington State, so like once you feel that little crispiness in the air,
yeah, it's nice.
You know, you put on your cozy clothes and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
Absolutely.
I miss the 90s.
Well, I like it too. It's a nice transition to feel some seasons after all, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
After all we've been through. Well, anyway, today we're going to take a listen to your guys' podcast, your episode 1, which is the pilot episode of your podcast for this class, Communication 337. So let's go ahead and let's start with Vinny. Vinny, how are you? Mr. Witel. Vinny Witel.
I am doing really good. How about you?
A lot of technical details, right, to work out here. But I think
I know that feeling.
We're up and running. And I feel good about that. I feel proud about it. But listen, why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast? What's the name of it, and what's the theme?
My podcast name is called Pioneer Talk, and it's going into campus athletics here at California State University, East Bay. And I want to do a podcast like this because when you look through the local Bay Area media, Pioneer Athletics do not get any coverage at all. You hear more for college sports about Cal and Stanford, and maybe very little for San Jose State outside of the San Jose area. But you don't hear anything for CSUEB. Cause I don't know if it's because we're Division II and probably don't profit as much for money as the major Division I schools.
Well, we also don't have a lot of a presence out there, right? A lot of schools have invested in broadcasting their games, of student announcers who are regularly covering it, and we just don't have that kind of consciousness going on with what's going on with our program. But also, I understand I'm kind of surprised because I understand that they're actually paying a pretty hefty contract to somebody. They've outsourced their social media, I hear now, and they're actually like used to be students and their staff that would do social media, but now they've actually outsourced it.
Yeah, I remember. I believe it was for a few weeks in 2022 doing the first part of the baseball season, and now I hear they no longer have student sports broadcasting games.
Well, not just that, but our students used to go take pictures for them, right? Used to do all the social media work, and now that's gone.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's go ahead and let's take a listen to Mr. Witel's podcast. What's the name of it again?
Pioneer Talk.
Here it is, Pioneer Talk.
Coming to you from the lovely Hayward Hills on the campus of California State University, East Bay, welcome to Pioneer Sports Talk. This is a 20-minute deep dive into Pioneer Athletics on the campus of Cal State East Bay. I am your host, Vinny Witel, and I'll be discussing the current season for the men's and women's athletics here as they return to action for the 2023-2024 academic school year. Whether it's on the field, the court, or in a pool, sit back and enjoy your weekly update of campus athletics here on Pioneer Sports Talk. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Pioneer Talk. I am your host, Vinny Witel. This podcast will be about athletics here at California State University East Bay. Fall sports are currently in season, and in this segment, I will be giving you a quick update on how each team is doing. Then we'll follow this up later on in this episode with an interview with Maddie Bister from the women's soccer team. And with that, here's a quick update on how your Pioneers are doing. Starting off with the men's and women's soccer team, as they both recently hosted Cal State Los Angeles and Cal State Dominguez Hills in conference play in the California Collegiate Athletic Association, better known as the CCAA. For the men's, they started the weekend off with a 1-0 loss to the 19th ranked Golden Eagles of Cal State LA. The only goal of the game they gave up just in the opening minute of the match, but then they bounced back a couple of days later with a 2-0 win over Dominguez Hills. They have a record of 7 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw, with a 2-2 record in conference play. For the women's, on the other hand, they gained a very important 4 points in the CCAA standings after dropping their first 2 conference games the weekend before. They finished with a 1-1 draw to Cal State LA and then defeated Cal State Dominguez Hills 4-1. They have an overall record of 4 wins, 3 losses, and 3 draws, with a 1-2-1 record in CCAA play. Now we're switching up sports to women's volleyball, who are on a 4-game winning streak after dropping 4 in a row to start conference play. They recently defeated Stanislaus State and Chico State in a 3-game set sweep in both matches. They are currently sitting with a record of 8 wins and 7 losses, with a 4 wins and 4 loss record in CCAA play. Men's and women's cross country have recently concluded their regular season, as they are now both preparing for the CCAA championship. In their last meet, both teams finished in 8th place in the SF State Invitational in San Francisco. Now on to the year-round sports, as we start off with the men's and women's golf team, who are underway, as both teams just recently came off of a tournament. The men's team finished in 3rd place at the Wildcat Classic in Chico, while the women's team finished 8th place at the WT Fall Invitational in Amarillo, Texas. Both teams will be competing in a tournament in Hawaii in a couple of weeks, which I'm actually pretty jealous of. I get to go to Hawaii just to play golf. Who wouldn't enjoy that? And then we finally wrap it up with women's swimming, who recently started off their season winning their first meet with a 149-113 win over Division I opponent University of the Pacific in Stockton. This is your current update for campus athletics here at Cal State East Bay for your Pioneers. For more information about upcoming events, check out eastbaypioneers.com. We will take a short music break, and then we will hear from Maddie Bister after we return. And welcome back, everyone, to the Pioneer Talk podcast here on East Bay Live, coming to you from the lovely campus of California State University East Bay in Hayward, California. I am your host, Vinny Witel. Today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest, sophomore defender from your Pioneer women's soccer team, Maddie Bister. Maddie, thank you for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
All right, so first off, let's start off with a general background. Maybe those who don't know you or don't know about you, where you come from, what is your major, and some fun facts about what you like to do outside of soccer.
Yeah, so I'm from Sacramento, California. My major, currently undecided, but leaning towards psychology. It was kinesiology, but not about that anymore. And a couple things that I like to do outside of soccer, go to coffee places, explore, and go to the beach. I actually just drove to the beach last week by myself, so it was pretty fun.
And what is your general background in soccer like as a player? When did you start playing it, and why did you start playing soccer?
I actually hated soccer when I was growing up, but my dad really wanted me to get into it because he never took it this far, so I'm kind of doing it for him and my grandpa. I started when I was 4, and I hated it, so I didn't play when I was 5, and then I went back when I was 6, and I've been doing it ever since.
Who would you consider like your inspiration as far as like soccer goes? Like, was there ever a player you always looked up to, like wanted to model your game after?
I guess a role model would be Megan Rapinoe on the women's soccer team, just because she always had my number, and even though we were different positions, I would always look up to her.
Yeah, she is definitely a legend and will not be the same without her playing or seeing her on Team USA in the next World Cup.
Yeah.
And being in high school, what was the recruiting process like? And also, what made you decide to come to Cal State East Bay over other schools that may have offered a position on the team?
My story's a little different because I tore a bunch of things in my knee, so I got injured during the recruiting process, and I wasn't really given much thought from other schools, and I chose East Bay because of the beautiful location, and I have family in the Bay, and I love it being on top of the hill, and the diversity's what I was looking for.
And then what do you plan on doing after you graduate from high school? Or not from high school, from East Bay?
That is still up in the air, but an idea is becoming a sports psychologist.
And we are with Maddie Bister from the women's soccer team, and we will be right back after this short break, and we'll hear more from Maddie. This is Vinny Witel, and you're listening to East Bay Live from the campus of California State University, East Bay, in beautiful Hayward, California, the heartbeat of the East Bay.
I was feeling irate. I know it's up to me if I wanna keep it that way. When the weight is on my shoulder and it's holding me down, I know it's up to me if I wanna turn this around. Yes, around. I'm feeling alright. Give it some more time. Just give it some more time. You're not feeling alright, give it some more time.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Pioneer Talk podcast here on East Bay Live. I am your host, Vinny Witel, and I am currently with sophomore defender Maddie Bister from the Pioneers women's soccer team, who is nice enough to join us here in studio. All right, so you mentioned about choosing East Bay because of the community, and you love it on the top of the hill. How has your time been here at East Bay, not just as an athlete, but also as a student?
As a student, it's been great. I've been getting a lot of help from my teachers, and I always try to make a relationship with them. And the people here are great too. I've met a lot of friends through my classes and just walking around campus, and the environment's just really positive, and I'm happy to be here.
And going on right now, I mean, the team had 1 win and 1 draw this past weekend against the Southern California schools down in the CCAA play. How do you feel about how the current season is taking place, as what could have been different about the season as well?
I mean, comparing it to last season, I think we've seen a lot of growth and good change, and I'm very happy to where we're at, but I know that we can do better, and maybe the draw wasn't the best of what we can do, but I know we're reaching, and we're getting real close to showing the CCA what we're about.
I mean, because you came in last year from a team that won the CCAA a couple of years ago, made the NCAA tournament, and then just had a little bit of a drop down year. And you guys are just trying to show the CCAA that 2 years ago was not a fluke, and that you guys are here to compete. But now, sticking on the soccer moment, and what is your favorite soccer moment, whether it be from high school, whether you played in youth or a travel team, or even here at California State University East Bay?
I would say in high school, right before I tore my ACL, it was against our rival, and I scored 2 header goals off of corner kicks, and I felt pretty proud of myself.
Yeah, those are not easy, I'll tell you that. I tried doing those a couple times, and I'm very lucky I did not have a concussion. And then you just mentioned about the ACL, because I was going to get ready to name a time that you had to persevere through obstacles. How did you cope, and how were you able to get through it, through like your toughest obstacle?
That was probably my toughest, because I did 3 different things to my knee, ACL, MCL, meniscus, and so I was out for what it seems to be 2 years, and I had 2 surgeries. So coming back this year was the best thing that I could have done. It showed my growth and my strength, and I feel like I learned a lot about myself when I was injured. And last year I didn't play, but this year I'm making my mark as a technically redshirt freshman. So
you're technically redshirt, medical redshirt, but they still have you listed as a sophomore.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I have to talk to my coach about that.
And then one last thing I want to ask. What would you say to young ladies at an early age that asks you about who want to play soccer? What advice would you give them?
I would say if you really want to pursue it, then put 100% effort in everything you do, and the little details matter.
All right. Thank you very much, Maddie, for joining us here in studio. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
And for more information about campus athletics here at Cal State East Bay, visit the website eastbaypioneers.com. And we'll be back to wrap this up shortly.
I can hear them calling out my name, yeah. I can see them burn through the rain. I can see them grow. They're everywhere I go. I will never run away from anyone.
And welcome back to Pioneer Talk, everyone. I am your host, Vinny Witel. As we are heading towards the conclusion of this episode, I want to thank you guys for listening, as well as I want to thank our guest, Maddie Bister from the Pioneer Women's Soccer Team, for joining me in studio today. As we end this episode, I want to give you guys an update on the next episode coming up, as we will head into winter sports talk, as I will have Pioneers men's head basketball coach Brian Rooney as we talk about the upcoming men's basketball season. And again, for more information about future sporting events at Cal State East Bay, log on to eastbaypioneers.com. And remember, students at Cal State East Bay, you can get into sporting events free with your Bay card. Until the next episode, I am your host, Vinny Witel, signing off.
you go. This is Vinny's first episode here on East Bay Live.
Nice, Vinny. Great job.
Yeah, good
Thank you
job.
guys. I mean, it was just there's stuff I could still work on editing wise.
And a little audio mix in the end there. And the music was loud, bring it down.
I
what
was
happened
working.
there?
I was working on that, and I thought when I edit this that the music itself was going to be a little bit lower. I didn't understand how
We'll go back.
it
and
overpowered
We'll go
my
back and we'll
voice.
take a look at your file. But here's my other question: where'd you get the music?
Where did I get the music? Well, we do have East Bay Live music.
Ah, you got it from our music files.
Music files,
I thought
as
I
well as the
recognized
YouTube copyright-free files.
Okay, cool, excellent. Well, Vinny Witel, and that's a podcast about Pioneer Sports. I love that interview with Maddie.
Yeah,
You know,
that was great.
It was very insightful.
although I did wince when I heard about her injury. I mean, I've done
Yes.
that. I pulled my
Okay.
MCL. Man, that hurts like heck.
I'm very fortunate. I've never suffered an injury.
Takes
like
a
that.
long time to heal.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
did you
why-
even get back to 100%?
Yeah, a long
Yes.
time to heal.
It
I
does
did,
take a while.
but it took like a year and a half.
And,
I bet.
And,
Yeah.
and before we're done with my part, I just want to thank a classmate in our class, Mandy, who booked this interview for me.
Oh, good.
So
Mandy
I have to thank
Renato.
I have to thank my agent Mandy for that. Who is also on the golf team, by the way,
Ooh, shout out to Mandy.
Yes, she
Mandy.
is.
and currently in Hawaii playing a tournament.
Oh, she got skills.
All right, well, let's go ahead and let's take one more short music break. Then we're only going to have time for one more because we have a student's got to come in and record. I forgot that we had sort of double booked. Forgive me, guys. And what we'll do is we'll do two of you this evening. Then we'll air and premiere the pilots. We'll do Trin and Will's pilot. I want to play Joey's tonight, if that's okay with you guys. But I want you guys to stick around for the discussion, okay? And then I'll invite these guys for the discussion of your podcast. All right. You're listening to East Bay Live here at California State University East Bay. We'll be right back.
Looking for a midnight in my head, walking backwards just to remember. You never know, they will never find our way. Just falling for the darkness and the rain.
And welcome back to East Bay Live. And today is COM 337, Communications 337, our podcasting class. And we're also incorporating live radio, which is what we're practicing right now. By the way, that music is in our files. It's Mall is the name of the group, and their piece, Numberella, is the name of the song.
Love this song.
Yeah, we've got some amazing stuff in our
we
archives
really
that we have
do.
the licenses to.
We
And I
really
hope
do.
that you're going to take on that new music program and we're going to get even more.
Yeah, I'm hoping that.
I'm
will
really
work out.
excited that you're interested in doing that because we really need a music show.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is Joey Gormon, Chamness. How are you?
I am good.
Now, I see here it's RWG Complete. That's yours, right?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you introduce us? Tell us about the concept. How did you come up with the concept of what's the name of your podcast?
Real World Gamers.
Real World Gamers. I love it.
So Real World Gamers is a podcast about video gamers, and not just like people who play video games occasionally, but like we're talking hardcore video gamers that sit and this is like their life.
like my 20-year-old son who plays games so hard he literally has fallen down and slept on the floor. Right? I mean, now that's hardcore, right?
That's
yeah,
commitment.
That's
I've never
commitment.
been. I
That's
don't think I've
commitment.
ever been that bad, like that hardcore. But
So it's kind of a two-way thing. So one of the purposes is to kind of break down stereotypes about hardcore video gamers. And, you know, there's all these stereotypes of, oh, they're so lazy and they do nothing and they're not learning anything and they're not gaining anything, yada, yada, yada. So the partial thing is to kind of break those down and to sort of prove that, even though, the stereotypes are mostly made by people like me who don't play video games and are just looking at, like my boyfriend who sits and just stares at a screen all day. And from my perspective, it's like, what are you doing with your life? But sorry, honey. And then the other part is to...
Is he listening right now?
Yes, he is. I can't wait to go home. And then the other part is to actually prove that these people who play these video games are learning so much from these games, and it's just not in a conventional way that most of us are used to. We're used to learning about social skills and all this other stuff from real world. But these people are learning so much virtually, and it's kind of crazy. So,
well, I got a couple questions for you about that, but let's go ahead and let's take a listen. Let's take a listen to Real World Gamers.
Maybe you'll have less questions after you listen to the episode.
Well,
We'll
it's just we'll see. All right, here we go. Real World Gamers.
Here we go.
One fight.
Video gaming has been said to be a hobby that breeds laziness and a lack of basic life skills among players. But what if gamers are actually more productive and skilled in the virtual world than we think? You're listening to Real World Gamers, where hardcore players share stories of how they put their skills and knowledge from gaming to use in the real world. I'm your host, Joey G, and it's game time, so let's jump in. What's up, everyone? You're listening to Real World Gamers. I'm your host, Joey G, and today our gamer is Terry. He will be sharing with us his experiences with MMORPGs, also known as massively multi-online role-playing video games. And he's going to talk a little bit about what they've taught him over the years. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So for our listeners out there, could you please introduce yourself briefly with maybe what age you started playing video games, what you played back then versus what you play now?
Yeah, so I'm 33, and I started playing back when I was a kid, maybe around when I was 5 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
One of my first memories was playing Doom, a first-person shooter game on the computer. And then I kind of grew up with a wide variety of other games, like strategy games like Civilization. I grew up with the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation. And so, I was playing Mario Kart. I was playing Super Mario World, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, those are pretty familiar for a lot of people.
And then in high school, this game came out called World of Warcraft that I started playing, or better known as WoW.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I still play regularly.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And thanks for being here. So first of all, this podcast is kind of based on busting down stereotypes about video games and gamers. Some of the stereotypes that people, have said in the past or that people have heard are video gamers are lazy, or they are not going to amount to anything. They are gaining no real world skills from these games. Do you agree or disagree with those stereotypes?
I would disagree because, I think sometimes that stereotype used to have some truth behind it, but I definitely think it's changed, over time with how games have evolved and kind of how we've all perceived it. Take WoW, for example. The game offers a wide variety of experiences, and there's a lot you can gain from playing the game.
I do want to dive deeper into that. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Terry. You're listening to East Bay Live, where music, diversity, and student experiences all come together to entertain the community. Thanks for tuning in. And we are back. For those of you just tuning in, this is Real World Gamers. I'm Joey G, and we are talking with Terry. So can you give us a little background about WoW?
Yeah, sure. For the people who don't actually know what it is, I'd say imagine like you're jumping into a fantasy book with millions of other people.
Wow.
The first thing you do is create a character from a range of fantasy races, such as like an elf, an orc, being an undead person, being a human, and then you choose a class, and this kind of determines how you want to play in this fantasy world. For example, you can choose to be a warrior who can protect their teammates, or can really be in the front lines. You can be a priest who will help heal your teammates, or help support them. And then afterwards, you get to customize your character to represent yourself in the game, and that's like customizing what your character looks like your hair,
So the
facial
face, the
features,
body. Yeah.
the body.
Okay. Gotcha.
If you want piercings and all that.
They allow piercings.
Yeah. Highlights and stuff. And so anyways, you create this character that represents yourself in the game, and it kind of throws you into the storyline. And the purpose of the game is to really just experience the world through the stories, or through taking quests on, through dungeons, raids, and battles, all while interacting with other players in that game. You could go do it alone, but you're definitely missing out on a lot of the experience if you choose to go that route rather than try to play with others.
Gotcha. So can you give us any examples of things that you have learned from playing that you've been able to use in your daily life?
Yeah, so a little background about me. I have a degree in business and accounting.
Gotcha.
Business and finance. And so while I was playing in high school, I would often go into this place called the auction house, which in the game is where you go to sell or buy items. And that's where I would kind of go to make the gold, which is the currency in WoW. I would kind of make my money there by selling my items, buying items, and turning it into gear for people to use. And I've noticed that when I was in class for business, when they started teaching me about supply and demand, I kind of realized I already knew what that was just from playing the game.
What age were you when you were being taught this?
So I was in college. I was around 20, 21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so, playing the game for about 4 years now. And I noticed that on the weekends, the prices would be cheaper than on the weekdays. And so looking back on it, it was because of the supply and demand. On the weekend, there was a lot more people playing because they weren't working, they had free time.
Sure.
And so everyone would be putting items into the auction house, which would drive the prices down, right? And then on the weekdays, everyone's going to be working. They're, in class and stuff. And so not as much people are playing WoW. And because of that, not as much items are being put into the auction house. So
Yeah.
prices rose. And so when I was learning this in class, it was just really easy for me to pick up on it.
Because you already knew what it was. Yeah.
Another example is what I did in the auction house was kind of make my own business. I would buy materials, turn it into gear, and then sell it, right?
Right.
And so I kind of tracked how my profits were. I would buy 100 gold worth of materials, and then I would get 1,000 gold when I sold the gear that created it. And so I would track it that way. And in class, they were teaching something called LIFO, FIFO. It's last in, first out, first in, first out. It's all methods of how you can track your profits. And these were things that it clicked right away, because I was like, oh, I did these things. I literally did LIFO and FIFO.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It just kind of blows my mind because I also play some video games, but you don't ever think about it when you're playing it that you're actually learning something as well. You just kind of look at it as, oh, I'm just having fun, but these things happen sort of simultaneously and you're not really realizing it at the time until you're later on.
It might not be defined. Like, you might not know what you're doing or like the specific term.
Right.
But you are doing these things as you
It's just
experience
so
life,
cool, knowledge comes from anywhere, and that's what we're trying to prove here. I'm sure you have more things to tell us. So we'll take a quick break, and then, we'll be right back with Terry. And we are back. For those of you just tuning in, this is Real World Gamers. I'm Joey G, and we are talking with Terry. He is talking with us about World of Warcraft, also known as WoW, which is an MMORPG. So, Terry, you mentioned things that you learned from WoW, like supply and demand and LIFO, FIFO, and all the economics stuff from World of Warcraft. But what else have you learned from this game that you've been able to use in your real life?
Yeah, so there's this feature in the game called guilds, and it's kind of a community based where someone would create a guild and then they'll invite people in and they'll just play with each other.
Okay.
Do it in the game, and do things and kind of build a community where people get to know each other, they experience the game with each other. And so I was in a guild, and we were specifically playing the game through raids. And the guild would have, around 20, 40, 50 plus. It really depends on the guild. Like, there's small guilds, there's big guilds, right?
Okay.
And so the guild that I was in, there was about 30-ish people.
Okay.
And so there's a thing called raid in WoW. And what it is a group experience of 10 to 30 people going into this area, and they have to defeat, 9 to 12 bosses. And each boss, they, have their own specific style of fighting, and we have to figure out how to defeat them, and stuff like that. And so I was the raid leader, which meant that I had to kind of, make sure my group of people, I think it was like 24-ish people, that we all had the same time, that we all got on together at the same time. So these raids, they usually took about an upward of 3 to 6 hours to complete if we already knew about it, right? But
damn,
if we're still learning, then, it's just as long as it is until we defeat the bosses.
Sure.
So we had to come up with a set time, and usually it's 3 hours for 2 days per week.
That's a lot of time to set aside. Yeah,
and it's really a commitment, right? And so in leading these people, I had to kind of do some time management, get to know them, make sure that they're comfortable with everything, make sure that they don't have any like qualms or any beef with each other or with me, or with how things are going, with how I'm leading, with how everyone's performing,
right?
And it's very familiar to just how like work is. And so I'm currently working as an accountant for a nonprofit, and in that work, it's all about collaboration, communication. It's about knowing what you're doing and performing, and so it like resonates with.
So it carries over.
Yeah, it kind of carries over. Like, you have a responsibility to do, right? And so back to the raid, me and a group of 24 other people, we would go in. We would have to learn the fights, right? Through repetition. If we don't get it right, we lose the fight. We just go back and do it again. and it takes a lot of time, and it builds, leadership skills. I'm always communicating to people. We're always trying to find like new ways of winning through research on the boss. Like, oh, how can we do this better? Can we do it like this? Can we move over here? Like we need to formulate a plan, kind of. And that's really helped me with my work in how I work with others. And so, if at work there's something I don't know how to do, like I already have the like a good healthy habit of researching and kind of knowing exactly what I need to do.
Wow. So you don't get hung up on the fear of the unknown and being stuck on a task or something that you don't know what to do. Now you kind of have a habit built in where you're okay with not knowing because you can figure it out eventually, because that's what you had to do as a team leader. You have to figure it out. Otherwise, what's everybody going to do?
Yeah. And there's a lot of communication in it too. Like in WoW, if we don't know, I would go like, oh, like what's going on? Like, how can we do this better? I would communicate to them and then we would figure it out. And that mimics real life work where, if you have a task and you don't know how to do it and you research it in and you still don't know how to do it, you just communicate. You just say like, hey guys, like I'm stuck on this. You guys have any ideas? Like, can you guys help me? And so it's definitely helped me be able to open up and do that better in the professional world because I've had practice doing it casually in the gamer world.
Wow. That's just, all of this is kind of mind-blowing because you're doing all the same things that people would do outside of gaming. Like you have to learn team building skills when you get your first job or when you're in school and you have a team project. All of these things happen in school anyways, but you just got a head start. Yeah,
while enjoying a game with
while
other
having
people.
fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. I think today we've definitely debunked some of those stereotypes and proved that knowledge really does come from anywhere. And this podcast is not for telling people that you should go play video games and that this is the way to learn. But, for some people, maybe certain people who are more introverted and who maybe struggle learning this stuff in person, maybe this works for them. Everybody learns differently. And I'm so impressed with all the things that you can learn while just having fun, So, anyways, this has been fun. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you guys for listening. Tune in next time. Our next episode will involve someone who is an avid player of Assassin's Creed. So if you're interested, tune in then. Again, I'm Joey G, and thanks for listening.
All right. Excellent work there, Joey. I really enjoyed that. What'd you guys think?
Excellent.
Yeah, I said it earlier. I was listening, she has a great voice for, I don't know, I liked her voice, it was just, it was really smooth. It was, she did it really well. And I thought the topic was really interesting because, even she was saying that, what are you doing sitting there just staring at a screen, right? So she's actually going against what her initial thoughts are and trying to see, being open-minded enough to see, maybe there is some pros and cons. And it really made me think, as we move like further and deeper into this digital world, is that going to be beneficial? Maybe 10, 20 years ago it wasn't, but maybe 10, 20 years from now, you don't know.
Well, I like the fact too that you were at the end. You were definitely a convert.
Yeah.
You're definitely a convert. I see now. For me, I'm constantly explaining to my 12-year-old and my 14-year-old how the speed of the game and the speeding up of their brain when they're playing games is not real time in real life.
That's true,
right?
and the guy interviewed, Terry, he said that too. He said, one of the downfalls, I mean, there's not only good things. One of the downfalls is when he's in real life now, he gets bored so easily.
Exactly.
Yes.
He loses, his attention
It's
span.
hard to
is
read
just
after you've played a game.
That's very
there's
true.
no such thing
That's
as books. Yeah,
That's
no.
why they tell you limit your screen time.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a thing. But I just, I wanted to
Boomers.
focus on. There's also other things, What do you mean, boom?
Did you really just boom? Did you
really
William,
did you just
William Montague, did you just boom shame me? Boomer shame
no,
me?
I'm just kidding.
All right, you
Yeah.
Jenners, whatever.
Oh.
But listen, I thought it was excellent.
Thank you so
well
much.
done. I can't. Well, actually, I really want to hear the second episode.
Yeah, the
you know?
second one I was kind of impressed with. This guy he's so impressive. So yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent.
I'm excited to share it.
And again, that's Joey Gormon Chamness with a great podcast called Real World Gamers. Before that, we had a wonderful podcast by Vinny Witel.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And what's the name of yours again?
Pioneer Talk.
Pioneer Talk. I like it. Right at home, right?
Yeah.
And then next week, we're going to get to hear Trin. Trin, why don't you tease your pilot podcast for us? Tell us the title of it and tell us what inspired you.
So my podcast name is Heavenly Headquarters. It's basically about we're talking about movies and the Easter eggs and conspiracies within the movies.
Ooh.
Movies and Easter eggs?
Yeah,
love it.
Easter eggs, like things that you don't
Hidden
notice
things.
the first time.
Okay.
Like, how when you watch Game of Thrones and you have to watch it like 4 times because there's always something else that you missed?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's with everything, right? That's
I
just
mean,
because
yeah.
the filmmakers do things on so many different levels and
Yeah.
play with
Disney.
symbolism. Sure.
Yeah, but that's...
Exactly.
Disney does a lot of that stuff.
Well, I hope that my visual communication and culture class, inspired you a little bit.
And by the way, I am actually intrigued to hear this next week.
Yeah, I'm excited, Trin.
Thanks.
That's cool. Yeah, Easter
Yeah, what a
eggs.
great idea. So,
That's
what's
such a good idea.
what's the theme going to be of the first episode?
Theme, we're talking about the movie Parasite.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Favorite
one of my
movies.
favorites.
Yeah. Same.
Cool.
Nice.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear that. And how about you? So that is, you got to help me with your name.
Trinity Nguyen, or Nguyen.
Nguyen.
Yeah.
You got it. Trinity Nguyen. Correct. Thank you so much, Trin. Trin has been wonderful in the production room. She's also been doing extracurricular activities as well. I know that you're pretty busy out there in addition to your courses, aren't you? What else are you doing?
Not too much.
So it's all coursework 100%.
Yeah, honestly. And next semester, I hope to do more.
All
though.
work and no play makes Trin adult girl. What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah, I
That's a
don't
little
think
too
she's-
stereotypical. What's going on?
I've seen her at karaoke night.
Oh, okay, good. Good. I got to see that.
Next week.
And William Montague. How are you, buddy?
Yes, sir. I'm doing well.
One of our students who is on the GI Bill. I know that. We have many.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, I
And,
appreciate
we'll debrief you and deprogram you in another class. But tell us about your podcast and what we can expect next week.
So my podcast is called Let's Talk About It, and it focuses on, building relationships with people that you are close with or people who you're not close with. There's always somebody who you feel like you want to reach out to them, or a relationship that you want to strengthen maybe with your sibling. And once you get older, you kind of, you have that hindsight 20/20. And instead of just, thinking about what you should have done, maybe act on it. And
Yeah.
So you're taking interpersonal communication this semester?
I'm a communications major.
No, but are you taking interpersonal communication this semester? Okay. See,
The
you
truth is revealed.
It all kind of ties together.
It ties
Yeah.
together. Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff as I was sitting in the classrooms, it hit me right between the eyes. And it's like, it shouldn't just be this course that I hear. This should be like common knowledge. I think it would
Yeah.
help society in general
No, I agree.
to know some of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's especially tough these days, and in this culture, to build those kinds
think
of
so, too.
relationships and to know how to walk
it's so
through
surface.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have so many vices to take us away from it,
Yeah.
It's so much
Like
easier
video games.
to detach. Right.
Well, listen, guys, it's been wonderful, and we're going to pick this up again live again next week. So be sure out there in the audience, tune in again. We're going to be going live every Tuesday, and we're going to probably try to get live every Tuesday. Now that I got the system worked out and the kinks kind of working, assuming nobody tears it apart between now and next Tuesday, which
Fingers
is
crossed.
No
which
problem.
is a
Fingers
which is a
crossed
big
it
ask,
does.
right? Which is a big ask. We should be able to get rolling by 5 o'clock. So count on every Tuesday, 5 p.m. from California State University East Bay. The name of the show, the name of the station is East Bay Live. We're going to call this the Calm 337 show for now until I land on a better. I know it's so dry, but
Gag.
we'll call
Better
this.
than no name.
Sounds cool.
Workshop.
Better than no name.
We'll
I'll
call
tell you
this the
that.
Do You Know Where Your Podcast Is show.
Oh.
It's 5 p.m. Do you know where your podcast is?
That's actually not a bad one.
Put it in the folder.
I mean, some of the younger generation don't remember or don't know about it's 10 o'clock or it's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
Right, exactly. That's where that. So I guess it's that. I'm waiting for Will to pop another boomer shamer over there.
No.
No, see, I used to. I think the last couple of months when I worked at my job before I moved here, I used to do that a couple times a week of like, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Right after the store was clear.
Well, that was what I could come with off my head. I think it might actually be a good title. It's 5 o'clock. Do you know where your podcast is? Because that's what we're going to be doing, is debuting more of the episode 1 pilot podcast of the students in the Communication 337 class from the Department of Communication here at California State University East Bay.
Represent.
The 510.
And again, another assumption, that's that they're sitting in there listening to us, and they're going to be ready to go very soon, guys.
Yeah.
We're looking for your debut here. All right, let's go out with a little bit of music. Again, that was my guest, Vinny Witel, Joey Gormon Chamness. We have Trin Nguyen, and we have Will Montague.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Same time, same station. Stay tuned.
Yay.
Looking for a midnight in my head, walking backwards just to remember. You never know, they will never find our way. Just falling for the darkness and the rain. Come in silence, surrender to this. Come and follow, parade the wind and rain. In silence we'll hear the music becoming hollow. We'll never feel the pain. There was golden
And this is East Bay Live, where we consider doing best what college radio is meant to do, and that's to air and preview new music from local talent. So if you have new music and you want to share it with us, you can always email us at csueastbaylive@gmail.com. Let us know. We want to hear what you're doing out there. The music you're creating, we want to air it here on our station. Let us know. East Bay Live.
parade the wind